Welcome back to Essential English. So I'm making this video because some of my students at school have been kind of overthinking this word representation. It's kind of been stumping them, and I want you to come back to the basic bare bones idea here. When we say representation, we are meaning the way that someone or something is being shown or described. The trick is that in the exam, they will sometimes, so in the Common Internal Assessment for Essential English, they'll sometimes call it point of view, but it really just means the same thing. So if they say write about two representations in the stimulus, or they might say write about 2 points of view in the stimulus, they are the same thing. But let's simplify it even more. Do not freak out in the exam. Just think to yourself, what you're being asked to talk about here is the message, or you could say the idea, or essentially the point of a stimulus. So what point are you taking from the stimulus? I like to say to my students a lot, in this exam, you're really proving that you're not a bot. So what I mean by that is you're giving human responses. So not just identifying the obvious things in a stimulus, but being able to read between the lines, so to speak, to take meaning from the words and images. So let's have a look at an example here. So I have a vintage cigarette ad. Okay. They're a brand called Cool Cigarettes, Cool Miles, Cool with a K. So straight away, if I'm being asked to think about representations in this stimulus, let me first look at the evidence that I've got going on here. So I've got this gentleman is on a motorbike in a beautiful open mountain area. He's got his motorbike jacket on. Okay, he's stopping to have a cigarette, and the words are break away to refreshing taste. So I'm thinking this idea of breaking away in the words connects to the image of him. He's obviously getting away from everything in his life. We've also got this phrase, come up to cool. Come up to, I suppose, what are they meaning? Is that perhaps elevate yourself so it's not a dodgy, low-level cigarette brand? There's an element of sophistication here, I guess. Even the word cool. This gentleman, you know what? He looks pretty cool, to be honest with you. He's hunched over, he's got that cigarette, he's a man out on a solo man's journey. So I've already got quite a bit of evidence to go with here. Even with hardly any words, I could say that cool cigarettes are represented, or the message about cool cigarettes is that they are a sophisticated brand of cigarettes, that masculine men enjoy them, that they make a person cooler, and that you could say, and that they're associated with, they're represented as being a way to break out of your normal daily grind. You know, he's not stuck in the office. He is out on the road doing what he loves to do. I mean, this is just cool. This is just cool through and through. So I've actually been able to take quite a lot from just a couple of images and words. So let's have a look. We're going to do a little boot camp that my students did today at school. So let's go. Again, you're not actually being asked, really keep it in mind, you're never being asked in this exam about your opinion about topics. They're not asking you, what do you think of cigarettes? They're not asking you, what do you think of the Starlight Foundation in this next example. You are only using the evidence that you have in front of you, and you need to look closely. So if you're struggling to get two representations, you need to look harder. You can always find two. So we have an advertisement by the Starlight Children's Foundation. We have some text and we have some images here. So we have to go with the evidence that we have, and the question is, explain two representations of the Starlight Foundation in the stimulus. So let's have a look here. It says Starlight Foundation, Children Foundation, transforming the lives of seriously ill children and their families across Australia. Transforming the lives of seriously ill children and their families. I'm going to circle this word. I like it, transforming. So it's obviously really important that it's transformative. We have over here a child with, I guess, someone that works there, smiling. She's wearing a cape. So there's this idea of superheroes. What else have we got here? We have also over here a logo of a child reaching for a star. I wonder what that might symbolize. So that might be an important symbol. Maybe the star is a metaphor for their dreams. They're reaching up for it, but they're not there yet. So I assume that means that it's the foundation that helps them get there. So let's have a look. How might I use my sentences here? I think I've got a few ideas. It's obviously transformative. Their company acts as like superheroes for children, and they help children reach for their dreams. This is sounding good. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to set myself up before I write my response. I'm going to write this into sentences. My tip here is to use the words from the question in your sentence, in your answer. Literally take the question and essentially just spew it back out. Sorry about the imagery. So let's have a look. I might say, one representation of the Starlight Foundation is that it, how about I say, has the power, just move me out of the way, the power to transform lives. Good. Correct. That is in the stimulus. You can prove that because it's right there. Awesome. So let's do a second one. You could do something about superheroes, or you've got the other option over there of reaching for the dreams. So I'm actually going to do, very boring in my style of writing, another representation of the Starlight Foundation is, maybe I'll merge those two ideas and make them one cool idea. Let's say this. Another representation of the Starlight Foundation is that, like superheroes, they help kids reach for their dreams. Cool. They are two separate ideas that I could pursue here. That they are changing the lives of seriously ill kids, and the message there is that their company is like superheroes that help kids reach for their dreams. My evidence is reaching, my evidence is the cape, etc. So before I start writing in the exam, I would set these two things up for myself so I know clearly what are my two different representations to write about. Notice I haven't actually done language features or text structures yet. That's okay. Do that later. First and foremost, figure out your two representations. Let's have another go. Next up, we have a protein powder ad. Now, these are both advertisements. In the exam, you won't get an advertisement, but I'm just showing you that representations are everywhere. And what you need to do is get expert at using words and images and asking what message are they sending. So here we have a protein shake. I don't know the company. I thought the company was called Isolate, but my students thought that it was actually, the company's called Gold Standard. Either way, I've just got to go with what I've got. I have an athlete here. He's looking very fit and he's looking straight ahead in a very focused way. Looks very serious. Okay, I've got words like gold standard, okay, and this idea that it works harder. This word's jumping out at me too, ultra. So I'm getting this theme here that it's obviously the best because it says gold standard, works harder, and ultra. Cool. So that's something that's coming through to me. I'm noticing that he has a yellow shirt and the background is yellow too. So I wonder if that is something I could talk about. Even his body language is forward motion. So there's this sense of urgency there and forward movement. So honestly, I think that might do. I can already hear that I've got two ideas here. I'm going to talk in this with regards to the yellow. We talked today about gold. So they're saying gold standard. So it's not an accident that they've gone for orangey gold colors here. So how would this look in sentences? Let's keep it nice and basic. We might say, can you guess it? Nice and boring. Let's go. One representation of the protein powder in the stimulus. Can you guess it? Is that it is the, I might say, superior brand that will lead to better results. If I go on there in the exam, I would articulate and explain my evidence. You might say, this is evident. I would go on something like this in the phrase gold standard and works harder. Great, now I need a totally different representation. So the first one was that it's the superior brand and will lead to better results. Cool. The next one I'm going to say, I might talk about this idea of gold and winning. So I might say another representation of the protein powder is that it allows an athlete to move forward with confidence to win. Very cool. That's there. I'm actually hinting at that thing I pulled out there of his eyes and his body moving forward. Great. So I've got two representations and then I would answer my next questions. Okay, our third example this afternoon, we're not going to have any images anymore in these practice ones. So in the exam, you'll have a written and a visual stimulus. And as my students have discovered, it's a little bit harder, I think, when all you've got is words to go off. So we have a short stimulus here. This is from an actual past exam, so let's have a look. It's called Group Resilience, and it's a transcript from a speech from a community leader. We come together today because we have suffered challenges as a community, and we know that being together will help us heal. At this time, what words are enough to help us believe in a better tomorrow, to restore our will to go on, to help us persevere when we feel like giving up and giving in? 3 words: hope and group resilience. It would be easy to let a blanket of despair turn us inwards, to be silent and forever stooped under the weight of these challenges. We are not that community. We are not people who become bitter and angry. Today I offer these words, simply and honestly. We will keep going because we have group resilience. We draw on each other's strengths. More than 2/3 of people in our community have been affected, so right now we are under pressure. It feels a little too deep, a little too dark, but our hope comes from our unity. Just like diamonds, hope and togetherness are unbreakable. rock solid. We have hope. We have togetherness. We have carrots of determination. Like diamonds, we'll emerge strong and bright, solid, sparkling. Surrendering to despair is an option we will not choose. We are here for each other, and we will move forward. It is in this togetherness that we draw our strength and pull each other up instead of letting our despair drag us down. In fact, research has shown that if at least 70% of people in a community draw together in challenging situations, group renewal can be profound. In unity, we stand. Together, we replenish our strength by jointly believing that when we commit to working hard and hoping for a better tomorrow, we will successfully rebuild. It's our responsibility. It's our hope for a better future, a bright light illuminating our path. Just as day follows night, darkness is only temporary. We are coming together to restore hope. We are resilient, group resilient. Okay. Guess what? Interestingly, some of my students have realized that you actually do need to read the stimulus from start to bottom. And I would recommend reading it the first time like I did, just listening to the words in your head. On the second reading of it, you could start to look for language features and text structures. I'm sure you probably heard some metaphors in there, or I'm sure you might have noticed a simile down here, like diamonds. And I hope this word here, you might have heard this before, carrots. And we're not talking about munching on vegetables as carrots. We're talking about the way that we measure gold. So they measure gold in carats. So let's go to the question. Here it is, same old formula. Explain two representations of group resilience in the stimulus. So my topic is group resilience. And I just need two ideas or messages that I got from this stimulus. Let's have a look. I might set myself up with group resilience is represented as being, that's a way that you can go into it instead of saying one representation in the stimulus is. So let's have a think about it. Group, I mean, at the bare minimum, you could actually pass by saying group resilience is represented as being good. The idea would pass, but I think ultimately you probably wouldn't actually, because you wouldn't have enough words. We can't just sound like robots and saying group resilience is good. We must articulate and explain. So let's try. Group resilience is represented as being, shall we say, something that has the power to help communities get through tough times. And when I talk about that representation, I'd be talking about the dark and light metaphor and this word bright light illuminating our path. So I might extend on that idea that the speaker is describing group resilience as something that can help us get up and get out and get through the dark times. I think there's also a reference to a blanket of despair. So they're saying, no way, we are not going to be underneath the blanket of despair. Here it is again. We're not going to let the despair drag us down. Fantastic. So I might change this to group resilience is represented as being something that has the power to help communities get through tough times and uplift them. And I'm just collecting some words in those brackets there that I might talk about later when I need to tease this out to get to my word count. Here we go. We need another one. Another point of view, I might say, about group resilience in the stimulus is, the speaker mentions precious resources a few times. Did you notice that? We've got this reference to carrots of determination, like diamonds, solid, sparkling, this idea of being unbreakable and rock solid. So I think I should talk about that a little bit and say, I mean, group resilience is not being represented as being something weak, is it? Or flimsy or fragile. This person's saying things like rock solid, gold, carrots, diamonds, unbreakable. So I think I'm going to mention that. Another point of view about group resilience in the stimulus is that it is a strong force that is unbreakable in the same way a rock is solid and unbreakable. When I write more by pen and paper, typically in the exam, I would use those metaphors, that word carrots and the simile of like diamonds. And the phrase rock solid. So overall, the speaker is actually using here a bit of an extended metaphor where they come back to it a lot. So the metaphor is they're comparing group resilience to something really strong like a rock. And they haven't just picked any rock to talk about, have they? Carrots implies gold, and there's a reference to diamonds as well. So they have not said pebbles, they have not said ridges or boulders. Remember, the author is choosing every word to influence meaning, to invite you to think a particular way. Just like the protein ad is choosing images, words, colors, body language to send a message or a representation. In the same way, writers are picking words deliberately. So I'll do a separate video about language features and text structures in this stimulus to help you out, but this video is simply to help you practice getting 1 and 2 representations ready to go that are correct.